Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, Iron Man, the benefactor of the Avengers who describes himself as a genius, billionaire, playboy, and philanthropist, with electromechanical suits of armor he made according to directors Joe and Anthony Russo. Downey was the only actor to receive the entire screenplay for the film. Screenwriters Christopher Markus and Stephen McFeely knew that Stark's death was inevitable as a move to selflessness, and as an end to the chapter Stark began. They felt that his death was earned after granting him the perfect retirement life. That's the life he's been striving for. They got married, they had a kid, it was great. It's a good death. It doesn't feel like a tragedy. It feels like a heroic, finished life. Joe Russo said that Stark always knew he was going to die because he could never reconcile that notion in himself of not protecting the universe, and was the most defiant of the Avengers. Stark is the most formidable of all of them. Because of his heart, the Russos sought Downey's approval for Stark's arc, which they had developed since Captain America: Civil War, 2016. Chris Evans as Steve Rogers, Captain America, the leader of the Avengers, World War II veteran and former fugitive. He was enhanced to the peak of human physicality by an experimental serum and frozen in suspended animation before waking up in the modern world. Markus described Rogers as someone who is moving towards some sort of enlightened self-interest. McFeely knew that Rogers was going to get his dance, that he promised Peggy Carter in Captain America: The First Avenger, 2011. He initially planned to complete Rogers' story arc by killing him off, given the character's long life for his occupation, before deciding to have Rogers abandon his shield. Patrick Borman provided an unsaid reference for an elderly Steve Rogers. Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner, Hulk, an Avenger and genius scientist who, because of exposure to gamma radiation, transforms into a monster when enraged or agitated. Banner balances his two sides with gamma experimentation in this film, enabling him to combine his intelligence with the Hulk's strength and physical stature, based on his Professor Hulk comic book identity. Compared to other heroes who were demotivated by their loss to Thanos, Banner is the only character to remain hopeful. According to Anthony Russo, Banner is the sole character who is actually forging into a bright new future, trying to build something totally new and find something completely new. Banner is the one who is most heroic in a sense that he maintains his will to keep trying. This concludes a character arc that was established in Thor: Ragnarok, 2017, and continued in Avengers: Infinity War. Chris Hemsworth as Thor, an Avenger and the King of Asgard, based on the Norse mythological deity of the same name. Thor now wields a mystical axe known as Stormbreaker after the destruction of his hammer, Mjolnir, in Thor: Ragnarok. In the film, Thor has become an overweight, drunken ruler of Asgard's refugees in Tonsberg, Norway. Hemsworth said about this drastic character change, "I just had an opinion. I wanted to do something different this time. Each film I've wanted to, in particular, the last couple, and they were on board," and added, "We shot for many hours and days and discussed how far could we push Thor, and what we could do different." According to Anthony Russo, even though there's a lot of fun to be had in the movie with his physical condition, It's not a gag. It's a manifestation of where he is on a character level, and we think it's one of the most relatable aspects of him. I mean, it's a very common sort of response to depression and pain. Thor's story was Russo's favorite arc. Part of Chris' magic as a comedic actor is his dedication to the depth of the character on a very earnest level. It's so devious and subversive when comedy is coming from a place of complete commitment and emotional complexity. Hemsworth underwent around 3 hours of hair and makeup work for the transformation, which also required him to wear a large silicone prosthetic suit. He called himself Lebowski Thor on set. Thor was initially supposed to revert to his old chiseled self in the middle of Endgame, but Hemsworth wanted to retain Thor's new physique. Scarlett Johansson as Natasha Romanov, Black Widow, an Avenger and a highly trained spy and former agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Romanov continues to command several teams from around the galaxy in the Avengers headquarters at the beginning of the film, which Joe Russo said stemmed from her inability to move on from their failure to